Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today what we're going to go through is 2 ways that we can train the hamstrings to benefit squat, deadlifting and bench, and also how to help with lower back pain.
So there's 2 different ways we can train the hamstring. We can train the hamstring in a lengthened position, or we can train the hamstring in a more shortened position. Here I'm going to go through with Chris how to train the hamstring in a lengthened position using the RDL. As the hamstring is a muscle that attaches to the knee joint but also the hip joint, the RDL is an exercise that we can train the hamstring in a lengthened position at the hip part of the muscle. Okay? So what Chris is going to do, he's going to pick up the bar. From this position here, he's going to have a slight bend in his knees and he's going to be thinking about his hips going backwards while his head is going forwards. He's getting a big stretch to that hamstring and coming up. As you can see, there's not much bend at the knee, but most of the motion is coming through the hip. The reason why this is a good exercise is that it trains hip flexion, so this is going to be good for squatting in particular, but also starting position for deadlift as well.
So Josh has just gone through how we're going to train the hamstrings in a lengthened position, which is more of that hinge sort of pattern like the RDL. What we're going to look at next is how we're going to train the hamstrings in more of a shortened position. This is going to be where we're going to get most of the bang for our buck when we're trying to get down into depth for squatting, and when we're also trying to build up that lumbar flexion tolerance. So if you're experiencing lower back pain, this can be quite a nice, gentle exercise that we can go through that can help to start ease the sensations you're getting in your lower back. So with this hamstring bridge, you may have seen this before on our YouTube channel and across our Instagram as well. But what we're going to go through here is we're going to get Josh to try to think about doing like a hamstring curl. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to get Josh to think about pulling his toes towards his face. As he's doing this movement here, I'm going to get him to think about trying to drag his heels hard down into the bench, so that way he is shortening the hamstrings already, okay? From there, all Josh is going to think about doing is lifting his hips up as high as he can while he drags his heels almost towards his bottom, and he'll feel like his hamstrings are almost going to cramp, okay? So that's what, that cramping sensation that you do get is almost the hamstrings trying to shorten as much as they can while we're going through hip extension. So now that we've gone through how to lengthen the hamstrings with the RDL and shorten the hamstrings with the hamstring bridge, what we're going to go through next is how we can train the hamstrings to increase that lumbar flexion tolerance, particularly for bench press. With bench press, what we'll typically find is that a lot of athletes, if they're not able to arch properly, they will create a lot of the extension through their lumbar spine or their lower back. What this can lead to is sort of, I guess, sometimes nervy sensations or feelings of jamming and low back pain following bench press. Sort of where the muscles are feeling like, you know, they're always on and you can't really bend over or hinge too well. So this exercise that we're going to go through is a variation of the hamstring bridge that's going to be really, really beneficial for that sensation. So what I'm going to get Josh to do is the exact same as what we went through just before with the hamstring bridge. The only difference being is we're going to get a foam roller squeeze at the same time. So popping this one just between the inside quad muscles on the knees, Josh is going to apply probably like a 70 to 80% squeeze on the foam roller while doing the exact same movement that we did just before. So thinking about dragging the heels towards your bum, trying to lift your hips up as high as you can off the floor. And what this is going to do is we're going to get relative lumbar flexion or lower back rounding or flattening out as Josh is coming up into hip extension, which is going to help those lower back muscles relax a little bit and feel a lot more comfortable during bench press.
To round us out, if you want to improve your hip flexion or your starting deadlift position, do some sort of hinging motion, which would be lengthening the hamstring. If you want to improve your squat depth, do some sort of hamstring shortening exercise. And if you want to reduce the sensation of that stiffness through the low back for benching, do some sort of hamstring bridge or a hamstring shortening exercise with a bit of a foam roller squeeze.